Welcome to another Saturday school. Typically, we have Saturday school the first Saturday of the month. And as I told you, life was lifing and we did not have it. But I couldn't leave you hanging. I knew you wanted to be in class. So, friends, today is Saturday, December 14th, 2024. And welcome because class is now in session. Let's go. So, as you know, we have to start with our quote. Our quote today is by Jim Knight. When teachers stop learning, so do students. I want you to take a moment to think about what that quote means to you. Well, let me tell you who you have in front of you. You have Dr. Kiana Obeng, affectionately known as Dr. Q. I am the founder, CEO, and the culture strategist for the Culture Academy LLC. Who am I and what are my receipts? Well, listen, I have 20 plus years of experience in the field of education, not to include my experience in the field of business. I have an accounting background, so I know some things. I got receipts. Leadership is my jam. I've been a teacher, an instructional coach, an instructional systems specialist, which is an instructional coach. I've been a professional practice improvement specialist, which is a leadership coach. And I am back in the building serving as a building administrator. And like I said, I have 20 plus years in education. I have about 5 years in the corporate setting and leadership and accounting and all the things. So I'm a well-rounded gal who knows my way around a lot of situations. But guess what? Let's get into today's session, okay? Because class is what? In session. Here is our objective for today. Take a moment to look at this as I read aloud. Today, we are going to equip you as leaders with actionable strategies to assess, create, and implement professional learning plans tailored to the needs of your team, ensuring meaningful outcomes. So, buckle up and let's go. So, remember the last time we were together, we highlighted the top five leader logistic concerns. The last session that we had, Leadership Logistics Session 1, we talked about managing time effectively. And today, in Session 2 of this five-part series, we're talking about developing and managing professional learning plans. Before we dive deep into our session about professional learning plans, let's take a moment to answer these five questions to see if, in fact, we're in the right place. Question one: do I regularly assess my team's professional learning needs using data or feedback? Question two: are my professional learning goals specific, measurable, and aligned with my organization, or in this case, our school and or district priorities? Number three, do I have a structured timeline for professional learning events and follow-up? Question four, am I utilizing diverse learning platforms such as workshops, coaching, peer collaboration to meet the needs of my staff? And we know our staff has various needs. So how are we leveraging the needs of the staff and different learning formats to make this happen? And lastly, do I measure the impact of professional learning initiative on staff performance and student outcomes? If you have answered yes to three or more of these self-reflection questions or self-assessment questions, guess what? You are in the right place. So let's go. When we think about preparing for professional learning or planning for professional learning, I want you to keep in mind this framework. It's like we need another acronym, but that's neither here nor there. It is called the ADDIE framework. ADDIE. Those letters stand for analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. We're going to take a moment to take each one of these letters and kind of break it down. Okay. So let me kind of walk you through this process in real life using me as a real example. I noticed that my staff has several needs, but I don't just start planning for professional learning. The first thing I need to do is conduct a needs assessment. The needs assessment is going to help me analyze and determine and identify, if you will, areas of strengths and areas of growth. And by using this assessment, it will help me to target or streamline the support that I'm providing. I strongly believe as a leader that we give the people what they want, okay? And give the people what they need too. Let's be clear. And so, how would I, as a leader, develop a professional learning plan or plan for professional learning in my building and I don't know what the needs are? So, it's so important not to skip this step. Analyze the needs by providing a needs assessment to your folks to see what the needs are, what the gaps are, so that we can move forward. The second thing that I want to talk about is the design or the goal alignment. This is where you want to make sure that the professional learning needs of your staff are aligned to what you're trying to do as an organization, what you're trying to do as a school, as a district. It helps you have a target, a focus. All of your work that you're doing to design is aligned with where you're trying to go. In order to do that, or when you do that, that ensures that you can show systemic progress. If your goals for professional learning are not aligned to where you're trying to go, you are wasting time, resources, and energy. So, again, you want to make sure that as you're designing, you are aligning. Y'all see what I did there? Designing and aligning to make sure that your efforts are being targeted and focused to where you're trying to go. Then what you want to do is develop. You want to ensure that you're developing a structured timeline that points out how you're going to get from point A to point B. You want to make sure that you're extremely intentional, consistent, and timely, and following this kind of schedule or this timeline. One of the things that I learned from a previous job is we had what was called an ADDIE document, where each of the tabs in this document kind of said, okay, here's the data that supported why we needed to do this specific professional learning. Here's the design. Here's how these are outlined or aligned to the goals we're trying to develop. To the goals we're trying to meet. Here's the development. Here are all the different pieces that we need to make this work. Who is going to be leading the professional learning? What does it need to cover? What type of activities are going to be a part of it? How are we leveraging the different types of learners that we have in front of us? All of this is being built in this develop tab or phase. And then once we kind of develop this, we want to ensure that, again, we are leveraging all of the different learning platforms that we have. So during the time where we were virtual, how can we ensure that we have impactful learning on a virtual platform? We also have opportunities to kind of do some hybrid stuff. What if we were full blown in person? What would that look like? And so we have to be super, super intentional on the format that we're using to develop and to implement professional learning so that we can make sure that is meeting the needs. And so that kind of actual job embedded takeaways, making sure that there's takeaways, make sure that we use pedagogy, adult pedagogy, and how adults learn. All of that is very imperative in the I, or the implementation of the ADDIE model. We want to make sure that we are delivering a high quality product for the people that are sitting in front of us. And then, how do we know that the product was high quality? Well, we get to the E, which is the evaluate. This is where we want to make sure that we're measuring the impact of the professional learning that we provided. Without this evaluation, it's virtually impossible to determine whether or not the professional learning goals were met, and whether or not the actual professional learning is going to translate into some improved practices and outcomes. So these are the steps that you want to take when you're planning for professional learning. You want to make sure that you have done a staff needs assessment, that your goals are aligned to where you're trying to go in the design phase. You want to make sure that there is some sort of structured timeline in the development, how these pieces are going to work in tandem to get to our goal. You want to also ensure that there are diversified learning platforms, again, depending on how the professional learning is going to be delivered, if it's going to be face to face, if it's going to be hybrid, if it's going to be all virtual, if it's going to be in a specific location. That may determine what type of activities you do, so on and so forth. And lastly, you want to make sure that after you've done all of this, um, excursions, all the things, you want to make sure that you are evaluating and ensuring that your impact on the next outcomes are being met, that the evaluation for the professional learning is meeting the needs of where it needs to be. And if it doesn't, guess what? You analyze and adjust. I really love, and all right, so let's get into the nitty gritty of how this ADDIE process really looks in real life. Okay, so first thing I want you to notice is that here your ADDIE model is cyclical. It's in a circle, right? It's a cyclical thing that is reoccurring. You do this, and this, and then you do it all over again. Similar to the plan, study, do, act, or plan, study, check, act. It's this cyclical process. And so with professional learning, you want to make sure, as we mentioned before, that we are identifying staff needs by providing a needs assessment. So, in my line of work as a leadership coach, one of the things that I have a very big passion for is new and aspiring leaders. And I wanted to make sure that I knew what concerns they had. Now, working with new and aspiring leaders, sometimes you recognize that you don't know what you don't know. So even though they were given an opportunity to provide feedback via a needs assessment, I also referred back to some anecdotal data, such as my time as an assistant principal and the things that I needed. I also talked to second and third year assistant principals and decided what they needed so that I can get some information and insight from them. And that's some of the data that was used for needs assessment to support. Once we got the data from the needs assessment to support, we went ahead and started aligning the goals to our blueprint, what we're trying to do. And so we want to make sure that we are maintaining the highest quality staff members. Talent excellence was a priority for us. And so all of the professional learning that we developed to support these new and aspiring leaders were directly aligned to talent excellence, making sure that we keep the talent that we have well trained and ready to go. So we got the needs assessment. We saw what were the top needs for new and aspiring leaders. We already had it aligned to our goal, the talent excellence, making sure that they are getting what they need. And then we started to build a professional learning calendar. And this professional learning calendar pretty much had all of the different like hot topics that new and aspiring leaders face. So new and aspiring leaders want to know all the things, right? They want to know how to do this, how to do that, how to do this, how to do that, how to survive, how to breathe. All of that is part of their professional learning calendar. On this professional learning calendar, we want to make sure that we have checkpoints where we are not only just providing professional learning, but we're following up with proper mentoring and coaching as well. So again, we've built out this long range professional learning calendar with these checkpoints, and we're using many different structures to follow up, but I'll talk more about that later. And so we were able to kind of segment like this part of the time, the calendar year for new and aspiring leaders. They're going to be faced with issues or challenges revolving this. So this will be an opportune time for us to provide some professional learning to address these needs. Then when we get to this part of the calendar, this is the time where they should be experiencing these things. So our professional learning is going to be focused on that. Then this segment of the calendar, we should see these types of issues arise. So that's going to be the focus for this part of the professional learning calendar. So it's basically taking the needs assessment data, prioritizing those needs, and then putting some sort of structured timeline into place to make sure that the information that they're getting is relevant and is timely and is actionable. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we're following up with those coaching, mentoring supports. Now, in the uh, area that I service for these new and aspiring leaders, they would spread all over a particular region. And so it was my job to figure out how to leverage the various learning platforms that we had. Were there going to be times where we were going to be able to get together face to face and do some learning? Were there times where we had to be strictly virtual? And were there times where it called for a hybrid style? And then within those platforms, what did the learning look like? What were the activities? What were the takeaways? What were the pieces that were put together to make this a meaningful and impactful learning opportunity? So, all of those things go into when you are actually going to implement. We talked about um, who all is going to be leading the learning. We talked about again that follow-up support. What did that coaching and mentoring pieces look like? How are we going to come back and share best practices? All of these parts were leveraged in that diverse learning format. And then, of course, as we all should know, excellent professional learning should always end in some way to measure the impact of the professional learning. Okay. And I know I keep saying professional learning, but I mean, that's what we're talking about, right? And so, what we would do, we would always, at the end of any professional learning, issue an evaluation. And the evaluation was aligned to the Kirkpatrick model. Look it up. The Kirkpatrick model gives some suggestions on the types of questions to determine the level of impact that a professional learning opportunity had. This is looking at how the participants of your professional learning is going to implement or has implemented what they've learned. Has the professional learning that you provided for them transformed them in some way, shape, or form, and then to what degree? It also helps for you to be able to see how the impact of what you've done in the professional learning session will change the trajectory of students. Or if you're not in a place where you have students, will change the trajectory of the organization. So very, very, very important to make sure that you consider using the ADDIE model for professional learning, followed by or in conjunction with the Kirkpatrick model for evaluation or impact measurement when you're doing professional learning. So, friends, what I'm trying to say is this. When we're thinking about professional learning, planning, we want to ensure that we plan, another acronym, for success. And so here's some questions that we can ask ourselves as we're thinking about how we are planning for success. Question number one: what professional learning needs have I been overlooking and why are they important? Question two: how can I better align my learning objectives with the strategic vision of my organization? Question three: which tools or strategies have I learned that will help me address the gaps in my current plan? Question four: how will I incorporate feedback and reflection to ensure continuous growth in professional learning? And question five: what steps can I immediately take to create or enhance my professional learning plan? Remember, when you're asking these success, planning for success reflection questions, you want to have that ADDIE document aligned to this. You'll definitely see the cross contamination, if you will, of how using that ADDIE model for professional learning manifests itself in the results of these reflection questions. So today you have been given a tool to use, two tools actually. You have the ADDIE model for professional learning and then the Kirkpatrick model for measuring the impact of your professional learning. So now that we've talked about the strategy and we also talked about a real world application, let's talk about the key takeaways for what we learned today. Well, again, in good old TQA fashion, we have yet another acronym. I'm starting to get kicks and giggles out of these acronyms. Today's acronym, since we're talking about professional learning plans, are is the takeaway is plan for success. You see what I did there? Plan for success. So let's talk about the acronym. P stands for prioritize needs. When we prioritize needs, we are going to make sure that we're identifying the gaps and what exists and what doesn't exist. And then also find out what needs are needed to ensure that we bridge the gap between those two things. And how are we going to do that, you may ask? We're going to do that by conducting our needs assessment coupled with our anecdotal data. The second thing we're going to do is the L. We're going to link objectives. We're going to be so intentional in making sure that whatever we plan for is directly linked or correlated to our mission, our vision, our strategic plan, whatever the things may be. And so, how are we going to do that? We are going to go back and use our SMART goal template and make sure that our goals and objectives are specific, measurable, obtainable, slash achievable, realistic, relevant, timely. And so we want to make sure that we're hitting all of those points. We also want to act strategically. And how we're going to do that. We want to make sure that we're developing actionable steps and that structured timeline for how we're going to deliver professional learning, but also embed those coaching and mentoring opportunities to solidify or to follow through with the learning that took place. So we want to make sure that we have that timeline, that professional learning calendar. It would be awesome if we have a description of what's going to be covered in the different sessions and then the platforms that we're going to use to ensure that everybody is getting what they need. And then nurture growth. I mentioned this already. Nurture growth is that follow up piece, ensuring that we have that coaching, that mentoring. We're having those feedback sessions. We're following up and making sure that what we learned in the professional learning opportunities is actually being implemented, reflected on, adjusted as needed, so on and so forth. And some ways to do that is by doing some reflection, prompts. I love to highlight and spotlight staff that take risk and try different things that they learn via professional development or professional learning opportunities. So, those are some of the ways to kind of think about and ground ourselves when we think about professional learning. We are thinking about setting up a plan for success. As a reminder, with all the things that we learned today, we want to make sure that we met our objective. And our objective, which I am hoping that you're able to answer yes to this, is I hope that you as leaders feel equipped with actionable strategies to assess, create, and implement professional learning plans tailored to meet the needs of your team, ensuring meaningful outcomes. And as you take a moment to see if you met their objectives, I want to also offer you an opportunity to reflect and share out by activating the chat box. What is one key takeaway or insight that resonated with you the most and why? As you take a moment to gather your thoughts and type that in the chat box for us, I want to bring you to the call of action. First of all, I want to take a moment to say thank you so much for being on the journey with the Culture Academy LLC for all of these months. I think this is Saturday School session number 9. We've done 9 Saturday schools since the inception of the Culture Academy, and I hope that you are receiving benefit from the information that's being shared. We are going to be doing big things in 2025, which is when our next Saturday school is going to happen, January 4th, 2025. But I want to just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for rocking with us in 2024. We are still standing by and available for you to book a consultation call with the Culture Academy and the culture strategist herself, that's me, by using our Calendly link provided on the screen. You can also not just be a spectator, but a participator by joining and engaging with us on all of our social media platforms. The commitment that I want you to make to yourself as a leader is to plan, to remember to prioritize needs, to link objectives, to act strategically, and to nurture growth. This is a great opportunity for you to ask the questions that you like to ask. And if you don't have any questions, just know that we are always standing by, and we are reachable, as I said, through that Calendly link and all of our social media platforms. As you're thinking about whether or not working with the Culture Academy LLC is the right choice for you, let me review with you a few of the different sessions or opportunities for you that we offer. One of the things that we offer is a Planning is Key 3-session series where we talk about how to kickstart, execute, and yield results. That's one of the packages that we have. We also have the package entitled The Roadmap to Success, where we use our GPS framework. And our GPS framework is where we gather data and insights, plan objectives and KPIs, strategize, and execute. Oh, wait, but there's more because we have the It's the Wrap package. And the It's the Wrap package is also a 3-session package where we learn how to CPR, breathe again, celebrate, plan, and reflect. And when we celebrate, we're toasting to the triumphs, reflecting on lessons learned, and also being future focused. And if you are an aspiring leader or just ready to level up to your next step, why not engage with us with the Land a Job package, where the Culture Academy, in collaboration with you, conducts a resume review, interview prep, and a future plans framework. Listen, like I mentioned to you, I want to say thank you again for being a part of our community, a part of our family. We thank you. On your screen, you have a digital business card where you have access to links for all of our social media platforms, where we're asking you not to just join, but to engage. 2024 has been amazing with the Culture Academy, and we are so ready to move to the next level by offering so much more services, so much more opportunities for coaching, for supporting, for mentoring, for having coffees and conversations, for helping you really address the culture, the climate, the community, the communication, the collaboration, the celebration in your organization. We are here to support you. If you missed any of the things that we've done, stay glued to YouTube where you can find, I was going to say thousands. We're not at the thousands yet, but where you can find lots of resources that we've put out throughout 2024. But we are going up, up, up from here. Super excited about what 2025 holds for us. And we hope that we have gained your trust for you to be a subscriber to our channel and work with us. We are here. We are ready. We are positioned. We are willing and we're able and we're looking forward to the many partnerships that we will be making in 2025. Listen, this is all from the Culture Academy for 2024. We look forward to seeing you at our next Saturday School, Saturday, January 4th, 2025, for our first Saturday School of the new year. Until next time, guys. Bye.